Good afternoon. My name is Gretchen Keer, and my session is called A Wealth of Information, Online Learning and the Library. And so this session is, the content is really directed toward faculty members who are not necessarily librarians, but who want to include library resources, information resources in their online courses. Yes, so, but thank you for the library contingent for being in the room. I appreciate that. So I just want to start with a little bit about me, and really this slide is just so that you can see this really great image that I don't know if any of you know the cartoon Cat and Girl, but the artist drew this little cartoon of me, and I was like, oh, I could put it in my presentation. But so I'm online learning and outreach librarian at CSU East Bay, which is in Hayward, up in the Bay Area, and I have been there for about 2 years now. And previous to that, I was instruction services librarian at Humboldt State University, which is up in California. And before that, I was emerging technologies librarian for 6 years at a community college outside of Philadelphia. So I have worked both at university level and community college, and I've been doing technology and libraries and online support and libraries for about 10 years. And the purpose of this session is really just, I wanted to share some things that I've learned from working with online faculty who are moving, say, in person or hybrid courses fully online, and just how you can more effectively use the resources that are available through your libraries in those online courses. Because I know that there can be sometimes a little bit of, you're thinking, okay, well, I'm used to using this kind of a resource. It's a paper thing. What do I do with that? How do I translate that? Is there an online version? Or, I really like for my students to talk to librarians. How do I get my students to talk to librarians if they're not physically on campus? So I'm going to be addressing things like that. If you have any questions as we're going through, please do let me know. And also those of you listening to the stream, please ask your questions, although our technology person has disappeared momentarily, but we'll be back at any moment. I'm certain of it. So there might be a delay for those questions. Okay. So I wanted to start with just a basic definition of information literacy. So academic librarians do teach a thing called information literacy, and one of the official definitions is up here. This one comes from the AACNU, and they say that librarians, I say that librarians have identified information literacy as the ability to know when there is a need for information, to be able to identify, locate, evaluate, and effectively and responsibly use and share that information for the problem at hand. So many of you, I'm sure, are already familiar with that, but that's the perspective that librarians are coming at information from, right? So, and information literacy from. So when you talk to a librarian about your class, this is what they're thinking about. They're thinking about, how do I help your students access the information that they need? How do I help your students know what information they need to access? And how do I help them find those things, evaluate those things? So there's a lot of thought that goes into that on the part of librarians. And then the next thing I wanted to talk about is embedded librarianship. And so this is a concept that has been floating around for a while. And in fact, a really interesting sounding book just came out, an embedded librarianship cookbook. So I'm really looking forward to looking at that. But embedded librarianship covers a lot of things, not just online things, right? It has to do basically with librarians who work closely with teaching faculty in their courses, providing resources and support and things like that. So so that can be anything from, like I used to be embedded in a dental hygiene class at the community college I worked at. And so what that meant was I would go to, it was a hybrid class, so I would go to a class period of that course and I would introduce myself, maybe 5-10 minutes, say, hey, I'm the librarian, this is what I can do for you, and then I would go away, and then I would be in the course management system, and I would moderate a discussion board. And that's one example of a way that a librarian can be embedded. As you can imagine, there are many, many ways that you can be embedded in a course as a librarian. And it really depends on what you as the faculty member want. support for, right? So if you think, oh yeah, you know, I have this one assignment and the students are always messing up that APA citation, or you know, I want them to do an annotated bibliography, but they're, oh my gosh, it's really, you know, they struggle with that, they could really use extra support. You can pick an assignment. You could say the final. You could also say, you know what, my class is very research heavy, and I would really love to have a librarian just kind of lurking in the background so that the students can really have that extra person around in case they have questions. So it can be very embedded, or it can be just a tiny bit. Like we have at CSU East Bay, all of the courses, when the course shells are created, the library button is in there. The faculty members can turn that off if they'd like to, but all the library button has in it when it comes is just the URL of the library website. Very simple. So you can add things to that. I've done things like create a little package that you can upload into your Blackboard course that has other things, right? And I'll give you some examples of what was in that. But so, you know, that one little link, that's the library embedded in your course. Just one little link, right? So it's always good to know how you might embed a librarian. And then my last definition here is this access entitlement principle, which comes from the Association of College and Research Libraries Standards for Distance Learning Library Services. And basically it says that everyone is entitled to the library services and resources of that institution. And again, this is another one of those principles that librarians are thinking of when they're interacting with you and with your students, that we really want to provide your students and you with access to the information that you need. The end. Like that is it. That's what we want to do for you. And so there are things that can maybe stand in the way of that or can complicate that. You know, copyright law is a very confusing thing. But you know, access is really what we're aiming for. So I have a few recommendations to start with. And my first one is to explore the library website. If you have not done so, most libraries at community colleges and universities have a website. The website will probably have links to resources, like how do you find books, how do you find articles, that kind of stuff. Research guides. So librarians will do a thing, sometimes it's called a pathfinder, a subject guide, a research guide, a course guide even, and those are sort of, you know, the breadcrumbs, right? So how do I find resources on history? You might find a research guide for that on a library website. Contact information, very, very valuable, especially if you're doing purely online, if you yourself are not on campus, right? And you need to talk to somebody. Contact information is probably going to be on that library website for the librarian, for your subject area, for the interlibrary loan staff members or librarians. All those great things. If you have any trouble with the electronic databases, there might be somebody on there who's a technology expert who could walk you through those kind of things. So look for contact information. Policies. How long can my student check out this book for? Can I you know, put something on e-reserve? Do you have that? What is that? Information about copyright, again, confusing. Often librarians have an expert on staff who can talk to you about what copyright is and how it affects access to online information. And then targeted frequently asked questions, which are not always called FAQs. Okay, so sometimes, and I have some examples of those, the next few slides. So like we call it services for faculty. And on there we do have copyright information, designing effective library assignments, you know, reserves, subject specialists, et cetera, et cetera. And here's one, library services for faculty at Portland State. And they have a little bit more, right? They've got teaching and classroom support, publishing and research support, requesting and borrowing materials. And these are all, again, focused on faculty, what faculty might need. And you'll notice that, you know, most of what I think at many, you know, unless it's an R1, most academic libraries are very focused on the students. What do the students need? The undergraduates primarily, unless you have a really thriving graduate program. But we do also care about the research that you're doing and the materials that you need. So as you're thinking about these things for your students and your online classes, also think about, maybe I'm writing a book, maybe I'm doing my dissertation. Is there something that the librarians can help me with in that regard as well? And then we also have one from NYU, so I just chose a few from across the country. They look a little different. They're, you know, pretty simple, but they mostly have much of the same information. And then we also have frequently asked questions for online students. And this is something that, in our case, is definitely evolving. We need to bolster this quite a bit. We just hired a distance learning director for the campus, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to work with him to really, you know, build a nice portal for the online students. So right now, ours is pretty simple. Again, it's just sort of a scrolling frequently asked questions kind of thing, like how can I find books? Very basic stuff. Hopefully in the future it'll be a little bit more interactive. And here's one from ASU and from Drexel. So again, renew a book, interlibrary loan, the basics of how do I use the library in my online experience. So then I also have Get Comfortable. I love this picture. Get comfortable using library resources. So it's very, very helpful for your online students if you yourself are really comfortable with the resources that are available to them and to you, right? So if you're requiring your students to find a book in the library, or more likely find a scholarly article in the library, right? Or find a scholarly article, period, figure out how exactly they're going to do that. Figure out what databases does the library have that are specific to your discipline. How do your students access those? Do they need a login? Do they need a password? Will their regular, you know, email password and login work for that? Look into that a little bit. These things change sometimes very quickly, and it's always better for you to be prepared beforehand, and it helps your students feel less anxious too. They'll come to the reference desk and they'll say, oh my gosh, my professor told me to do this, but then I looked into it and it's not even possible to do it that way, right? So get comfortable with the library resources, try them out, and again, you know, the subject guides are good for that. We usually give you an entry point, like here's maybe some online encyclopedias you could check out, or some article databases. So the online databases are good to look at. It is also possible, and I would recommend that you learn how to embed links to articles. If you really want your student to read this seminal work from this journal, and you know the citation and you have it, and your first instinct is, I'm going to download this PDF and put it in my learning management system in my shell, consider linking to it into the library databases. You know, it's kind of a fuzzy area copyright-wise as to whether or not that's a good idea to download the PDF. Some people will say yes because it's behind a password-protected kind of thing. Some people will say no because of, you know, whatever. I don't know. You can argue about that, but if you link to the database, your students will get the content, right? And they'll also be exposed to this entire new place where they can see the article that you want them to see. They can also do things like email it to themselves, or email it to, you know, a colleague in their class, or play around with the search bar, find another article that's related to it, click through the links, you know. So it gives them a more interactive experience and more exposure into a resource that would be very useful to them in the future. So embedding links to articles is great. We also have things like chat reference. Lots of libraries have access to chat reference where your students can click on the chat box on the library webpage and talk to a librarian who may or may not be on your campus, but who will know how to get them the resources they need, and also how to connect them with a local librarian if need be. We do have things like ebooks, interlibrary loan. Learn to use interlibrary loan. It will actually help you a lot too. If you're in the case where you're not at an R1 and you need some higher level research, interlibrary loan will probably serve you very well. And if you're teaching sort of upper division or graduate level classes, your students will also need to learn how to do that. And sometimes that's a separate system, so it can take a little bit of getting used to. Online catalog, and then video tutorials or other kinds of instructional materials created by librarians for basic, like, how do I do these things, right? How do I use interlibrary loan? How do I find an ebook? You can also embed URLs to ebooks too. So here's some examples of those resources. This is a psychology subject guide that my colleague Andrew created recently, and you might recognize this interface. Some of you, if you've poked around, this is a software called LibGuides. and lots of libraries use it. And it's really nice because it organizes things very nicely, and it's not a lot of work for the librarian. But most libraries will have these, right? And this is for psychology. So you have psychology students. They go in here. They can see, oh, look, you know, there's an Ask a Librarian box right there. There's links, quick links to other things. Like in our library, we have tutoring right in the library, so there's a link to the tutoring. Andrew's picture is there, so if the students are on campus, they can recognize him. So things like that. Subject guides are good. Embedding an article in Blackboard. So I've worked with Moodle and Blackboard, and it's very, very easy to, you know, Blackboard provides this build content. You can put a web link in there. You can also embed it in like HTML-wise if you're comfortable with that. Remember that when you're embedding a URL from a library resource, very often you're going to need to include in the URL a proxy, a snippet of code that has to do with the proxy. And so basically what that means is it's a way that our vendors trust that we're not just giving away all their stuff for free, right? So it's basically a firewall, or, you know, it requires the students to log in if they're off campus. So if you're not sure what you know, we use Easy Proxy. It's a little snippet of code. If you copy and paste from the address bar, it's not always in there. So ask your librarians, hey, I'd really like to provide a link to this ebook in my Blackboard course. How do I do that? Do I need any special code? Is there a proxy server? Proxy server is a nice code word there, right? Proxy server, write that down. So that's something. Chat reference looks like this sometimes. This is the Ask a Librarian through question point. So this is really great. The students, you know, it's not just a chat box. In our case, I mean, some libraries use the chat box and then somebody will just chat right back. But we actually have this little form they fill out. It provides their email address, a question, you know. So, and we keep statistics on this. We have some good data that comes out of this. So this is what it would look like if you wanted to use chat reference on our campus. And then finally, as resources go, librarians are a great resource. And so questions to ask yourself: who is your subject librarian? Right? Look on the library website. Find out who that person is. What is their contact information? Where is their office? Send them an email. And if they send you an email, like I do this every quarter, we're on the quarter system. Every quarter I send my areas an email and I say, hi, I'm your reference librarian. I'm your subject librarian. This is what I can do for you. I can come to your class. I could be embedded in your class. I could help you with your research. I can do all these things. Respond to that email. You know, just be like, oh, hey, nice to meet you, or oh yeah, that would be great, or you know, oh, I'm teaching this class. Do you want to come and talk to my students? Or ask a question, you know, what do you have available for my class? Start a conversation. We love to talk to faculty and to students, and it can be a really rewarding relationship both ways. So that we know what your students are up to, what you need, and then you know what we can provide to support what you need. And right, do you have chat reference? Do you have access to that on your campus? And also, if you need a refresher on a resource, if you've realized, you know what, I don't actually know how to use LexisNexis and I think I need to, send a librarian a quick note and just say, hey, could you help me out with this real quick? Or could you send me to a resource that would give me an overview about how to use this resource? And yes, librarians love collaboration. I always think about librarians as like we work in a beehive. Librarians are very much like bees. We like to build a thing. We're very consensus-based. We're really collaborative. Just that's how our profession works. And so if you're into that, you should really reach out to your librarians or reach back to them when they reach out to you. Which brings me to invite a librarian into your online class. So as I mentioned earlier, librarians can do a number of things inside your class. If you would just like your students to see the librarian's face and to just hear a little brief like, hey, I'm a librarian, this is what I can do, you could say, librarian, could you make a 10-minute video or a 5-minute video or a 30-second video, right? Just to say hi to my students, and I'm going to embed that in my class. Or you could say, hey, are there any tutorials that are available on how to do APA citations, or how to do an annotated bibliography, or how to find a scholarly article in a research database, right? Links to websites, like I mentioned earlier. Guest lectures, that's another level. So then you could record a longer lesson. Just like if any of you have had a librarian come into your in-person class and demo something, or talk to them about choosing a topic, or what are keywords, right? You can do a guest lecture video, or if you're doing a synchronous online class, you could do, you know, Skype or Collaborate or one of those. Have the librarian right there interacting with the students. Discussion boards, librarians will sometimes be able to, you know, for a brief window, right, for maybe a week, 2 weeks, be able to say, okay, I will, you know, I will monitor this discussion board. Email or chat consultations, so you could recommend that your students contact the librarian via email or chat and have an interaction based on their individual project. But the caveat is, if you're going to include a librarian, let us know, please, right? And that does go for the in-person classes as well. If you have an assignment that is really heavily library-based, you know, send a shout out. Say, hey, guess what? I really want my students to do this. Do you have time to support me with this? Or better yet, you know, over the summer when you're thinking about it, reach out to your librarian then and say, you know what, I want to do this project and it's going to involve some library support. Can we talk about that? Because as you can imagine, you know, so I'm the library liaison for the human development, the hospitality, tourism, recreation, and the communication departments. And that's not very many for librarians. That's only 3. It's because I have other things that I have to do. Some librarians have like 10 departments. That's a lot of students. That's a lot of faculty, right? So, and we really want to help everyone, but it takes time. I wish that I had a clone or a few clones, but I don't. So, you know, think about the time and how that's all going to work. Like the discussion boards, some librarians get a little like, oh, I don't think I can do that. That's a lot of email and a lot of, you know, but you never know until you ask. And also consider your assignments. So we do a consultation thing about assignments. If you're curious about, you know, the librarian's opinion about your assignment, how best to use library resources in your assignments. Sometimes librarians will be happy to say, sure, I'll sit down with your assignment and we'll talk about how that's feasible and maybe this would work better or whatever. You know, sometimes I think faculty are not used to really working that way. There seems to be a little bit of like, my assignments or my class is mine and I'm really focused. And so it takes a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of trust, right, just to open it up and say, okay, I'm down for some, you know, critique or some, you know, assistance or whatever you want to call it. And to have that relationship and to really try and build an assignment around research or the library resources. Also keep in mind that students do not know everything about online research. They struggle a lot. So at CSU East Bay we teach a class called Introduction to Information Literacy, which is actually required for incoming freshmen. And so I meet a bunch of freshmen every year and they are really struggling with, they don't know the difference between Google and, you know, Academic Search Premier. They don't know what the difference between a book and a magazine is. They don't know what a scholarly article is. You know, they are like, and part of it is a generation thing. Everything looks the same when it's words on a screen. You know, you don't go to the library or go to your bookstore or whatever for an encyclopedia. You look online, you Google it, right? I mean, those distinctions are not clear to them. So they're starting from a different level. Of course, I'm talking about freshmen, but even the higher level students, and I'm sure that you've run into this, they struggle a little bit with that. So keep that in mind. You know, plagiarism and copyright are things that librarians can help you with, definitely, and with your students. But those lower level things are really important too. And build in some information literacy instruction if you can in your course, if it fits. You can do it yourself if you feel comfortable with that. If you feel like you're really, you know, you've got that, or ask a librarian to consult with you, or ask a librarian to be embedded. That is really like that's our content specific thing. That's what we do. So, and then we have this other thing called a super user. So sometimes we talk about people being super users, and that really just means, you know, our community members who are really engaged with the library, who use the resources all the time, who ask a lot of questions, who have a lot of opinions, who want things to work a certain way or just really want to know how things work. They want clarity. These are great qualities to have. The more that you interact with your library, the better it will be. The more it will support you. So I definitely think you should ask questions and give feedback. If something went really well, say so. If it didn't, say so. You know, we're all talking about assessment now a lot more, and libraries have to be really creative about how we assess things. And a lot of our assessment comes from like usability surveys and just the feedback that we get. Is it working? That's working for us. You know, like, is it working for you? You have to tell us. And then, of course, I have to say, if you find it useful, say so. Tell somebody else. Tell your students, you know. Pass it along. This is sort of a shameless plug kind of moment. I think that, you know, libraries are cool. We're awesome. If you think it's working, tell your students. And tell them to come see us. And your dean and your colleagues and your provost and your president and the media. I don't know why I put that in there. Sure, tell the media. But actually, that is a serious point, because I think there can be a little bit of the library. It's this, we kind of know what a library is and what it does and what it used to do, or what we think it used to do, and it's hard to define what a library is or why it's useful in an online course. And if you have an aha moment, if you're like, oh, that's what the library does for me, right? It really helps to be able to say that you know, to say that to other people, to share that, share it with us too. If you have a really great, like, oh yeah, this really helped me with this specific thing in this specific way, share that with us. And that is me. I feel like I really sped through this whole situation, but does anybody have questions? Thoughts? Oh, that is a gourd. That is me with a gourd. And that's actually the photo that the cartoon was based on. But she took out the gourd. I was really disappointed. Like, it was really fun. It was playing baseball with a gourd. Yeah. Yeah, it will be. Does anybody have any, yeah.
Administrative services that one of the things that our library did in college was work with instructors, faculty, and others to teach sociology. Part of their research project for the students in sociology class, PhD embedded a research where they had to apply research as it related to the library, services in the library, and whether or not they were responsive to newcomers, to new students, to returning students, to students of different demographics. And then they had to do a poster session on their results, and they brought that poster results to the library. There were interesting comments about things like your staff doesn't smile, or they need to introduce, you know, they need to reach out to somebody that's not coming out, for example. So we embedded that in our change technology training officers. You know, and she also put her dissertation in my library, she was ministers on education at Drexel, and she did a visit to the classroom. Right? She took 30 English 1A classes, and she did library visits in the classroom, and set up those who wanted self-select research functions to go in and help with her on a particular project. And then she did her data with a data analysis of change attitudes. She wanted their stories, about their story and the experience of going to the library, doing research and helping the library. many of them have never seen the librarian, or they have never really talked to a librarian and didn't know what librarians do.
Yeah.
And the instructors, I think that the conclusion was those students that sought help, their research papers and their annotations were vastly improved than those who did not, who had identified themselves as needing that help. Oh, I'm so sorry. Anyway, if you want more information about that doctoral research that Dr. Elena Heilman did, she's at Yuba College. I really strongly recommend you check it out. It helps with that assessment of library services and makes that direct link to the library and student support.
That's great, yeah. And so the beginning of that was about so a collaboration between a librarian and a sociology class, and then bringing the results of the study into the library, studying the experiences of students who come into the library. That's really interesting. Yeah. Does anybody else have experiences they want to share or questions about specific? Yeah.
I have a comment about the community. Oh, sorry. At the community college library, we have very small staff versus a CSU has subject librarians. We don't have subject librarians. We are every subject. So last night at dinner, what did someone say? They said, define what do librarians do? And he said, well, what library science is that it's the science of everything. That's what he said. So at the community college level, that's what we get is, we're the science of everything. So that being said, how would you comment on that?
Yeah, that's a really good point. So if online faculty do reach out to librarians, the response might be, we would love to help you out with that and provide support for your online students. How about we design some sort of self-service tool that they could, or even better, hey, we have this self-service tool that you could put into your library or your online class, right? So maybe you already have a tutorial about how do I, search for a scholarly article in Academic Search Premier or Lead or whatever, right? And so then you could just send that to the faculty member and say, all right, well, your students are trying to find articles, so this is a tutorial that does that. If it doesn't exist, then you could say, well, what I really want is a very specific one about annotated bibliographies and this and that, and we could design that together. But yeah, so some libraries are very, very short on the staff side, and but that's again one of the great perks of doing online courses, right? Is that you can make reusable content. And maybe in that case too, the embeddedness would be provide a link to the library website in the course, in the shell, provide the contact information for a librarian who might be able to answer reference questions, provide the schedule for the reference desk. The librarian is available at the reference desk these hours, maybe a map, maybe a picture, right? So something to bring the essence of the library into the course without taking a lot of resources into a very small place, Yeah.
I would ask the faculty, especially at the community college where there aren't very many of us, to at least send us their syllabi at the beginning of the term, so that we can proactively assist their students when they come wandering in the library like little lost sheep.
That's a very good point. Yes, syllabi are very important. If you have a really intense research project, send the requirements over. Most libraries at the reference desk have a folder, an actual folder, where they put those assignments for every semester or every quarter that come to the desk. And usually how we get those is we ask your students, hey, can we make a copy of that? Like, gee, you're the 6th person we've talked to about this assignment. Maybe we can, and we might contact you about it too. We might say, hey, we've got 15 of your students over here, and they all have the same question. So yeah, share that stuff with the librarians. That can be really helpful. Definitely.
You had a funny comment online that a better term for embedded librarian would be lurking librarian.
I'm also from a small, well not small, I'm from a community college, so we have small staff as well. So how we're approaching this, because assessment is really a problem and we have growing need. We have a pathways program where now we're going to have thousands of students going through it, like your first year course. And they have come to the library asking to embed information literacy throughout their standardized curriculum. We don't have enough staff to do that, so we are actually we use Canvas at our college. We have created a Canvas course, essentially, an information literacy course with modules. And these modules can be used and pulled by any discipline for any mode of instruction, but specifically while students are going through their first pathway course, College 1, the teachers are actually giving students assignments that require that the students complete a module, and so it's sequential. There are 4 modules throughout the term. And as students, they give them a link to go complete it, and it actually takes them to another Canvas course instance that's the libraries. So we get the student data on how they do in terms of completing, which ties to the library's student learning outcomes, and then the students then have a deliverable in their own course to turn in a final assignment based on what they learned. So what we're trying to do is to make sure that the course SLOs are met for information literacy, but also that we're gathering the data for the library, the student learning outcomes, so that we can do that assessment as well. And like the other project, the students, all thousands, we do it in a huge, it's all over the campus quad. They do a poster session. And we secretly, as librarians, go through with our own SLO rubric, and we do our own random assessments just to see if we're seeing the outcomes as we compare to the online modules that they have completed.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, and bringing up the SLOs and the ILOs at our institution, information literacy is one of our institutional learning outcomes. So being able to tie what you're doing in individual courses to that ILO is very helpful. And so if you're able to come to your librarians and say, well, I know that it's an ILO, can you look at my course or maybe your department is targeted that you're supposed to be really doing this part of the ILOs. You could ask, hey, does it fit? What are you guys doing in the library? Yeah, that's really interesting. Do you have?
Yes, in case folks didn't know, there is a MOOC being developed on information competency with the intention of the content being able to be harvested and used or be used within the MOOC or extracted out of the MOOC as people needed it. My understanding is that is going to be rolled out in the fall. I think that's being done under the auspices of the CCLC, the Council of Chief Librarians, so it's CCL. In any case, may want to watch for that and share that when that comes out, because I think this is a huge need, and why reinvent the wheel? Put all that effort in, or if you're asked, or if you have a good unit already developed, share it, so we don't have to reinvent that wheel. Save them all some time.
Yeah, that's great. And there are a lot of resources that are out there, tutorials that have been developed. I mean, UCLA has a great one about plagiarism and citing. There's a bunch of things that I can't think of at the moment, but they are out there. The one thing that I would recommend, though, even if you're using those things that have been sort of created, that really huge resources or resources from other campuses, still keep in touch with your local librarians and communicate with them what you're doing, right? Even just as a heads up, like, oh, hey, I found this thing and I'm using it in my class, because that both helps your library stay in the loop with you and also stay in the loop with those resources that you're finding, and your librarians might be able to share those with other departments, or if they notice that a lot of faculty members are going out and picking up these things, then they might start collecting them, right? Like that's what librarians do. We collect things, among other things. But you know, maybe you could say, hey, you know, this is a really great resource, and I would love to know what other faculty members are doing. Is there any way that we could create some kind of resource that lists those things, or you know, I don't know. I mean, brainstorm with your librarians about how you can, because you know, the library is really a community organism. It's not you know, a static room full of books. It's about relationships, and I think the stronger the relationships are between the faculty, the teaching faculty, and the librarians, the better. Okay. Yeah.
Why are faculty so often so stingy with their syllabi?
Anybody want to answer that?
Are they from the community college or?
Randall Community College or University?
He's not going to tell you. I
East LA College.
Oh.
Yes, one of us.
Okay. I don't know. All faculty have to say.
Wait. Be nice, sir. Be nice, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. The dean of the department should have the syllabi for every single course. So you might want to connect with the dean before the beginning of the semester and see if you may be able to look at them.
That's a good idea. I think that maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the syllabi are sort of an evolving project until the very last minute, maybe? I mean, there's like a time thing that happens too. I think people are working right up until the beginning of the quarter and then feel like, okay, there's, you know, so it might not. Does that sound?
Wait, check this out.
Oh my God! You just said put the. A lot of people will include the course syllabus. I mean the course schedule or outline with the syllabus. So I can see that coming in at the very last minute.
Yeah.
However, I don't think enough changes in the class besides the dates from semester to semester or quarter to quarter, where I think that they could go off that syllabi.
And putting a positive spin on it, since we are the purveyors of everything, right? So I think there may be just an assumption we can help students regardless of what it is. And so, so no request is unreasonable. Nothing that is developed in the class is out of the scope of what we can do and help students with, which is not always true, but I think it's a great compliment to us, so yeah. We could look at it that way as well. But yes, it does help to know what the assignments are ahead of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, another question.
Okay.
So here, I'm anticipating that this presentation may be a useful orientation for our faculty, both new and old, especially if we adapted it to our specific site and resources. May we adapt it to point to our website?
Yes.
And presumably link to this, as you see, Confer archive too.
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
Of course. And everyone here should know that this is being recorded and will be available as a Confer archive as well as an MP4 to be replayed on mobile machines.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Yes, and while we're doing commercials.
Oh, he also says we love Confer. Oh.
So I'll be here tonight, and I'll be at the banquet and everything. And if you have any questions or want to chat about anything, I'd be happy to talk to you all. Thank you so much for coming.